If leads are ghosting you on a sales call, or if you don't know what to say on a sales call, or if the idea of sales calls makes you want to run and hide, then this video is for you. Here's the thing, if you are called to business, I don't believe that anyone is necessarily bad at sales calls. It's more about the approach that you're taking to the sales calls. I do think everyone can be great at sales calls. Even as someone myself, who I would say is rather introverted, I remember my first sales call, I was so nervous, but it's about learning how to approach these sales calls in a way that makes you feel confident and at ease, because you're relying on the approach rather than just on yourself. In fact, I want sales calls to feel fun for you. And I do believe that this 3-part system to my sales calls has allowed me to find them fun rather than scary. And I do believe it can do the exact same for you. So I'm very excited to share the 3 steps. But before we dive into that, my name is Hannah. I am the founder of With Hannah & Co. And if you are a service provider looking to sell, streamline, or scale your service-based business, hit that subscribe button, because I'm releasing new videos every single week to help support you on your business journey. So this sales call process is one that I use to this very day. It has enabled me to get consistently around 80% conversion rate with sales calls, and it's allowed me to meet incredible people and book incredible clients from this. Now, the reason I prefer sales calls over something like an Instagram DM or something like that, I just find that having that 20 minutes in real time is so powerful, because I'm not waiting on them to come back to me from the Instagram DM. It's this back and forth. It reduces all of that, and it enables me to kind of better read body language, see their reactions to things. So I just find it a way more efficient and effective way. Yes, I've booked DMs, and I will usually do that if it's like a close friend or something like that. We probably won't get on a sales call, but majority of the time, I would say if they are a cold potential client, then definitely get on a sales call. If they're from a referral, I just think it's so much easier to build rapport, find connection, and be able to book them on a sales call. But also it helps you get a better idea if they're a good fit for you or not as well, right? Like sales calls, they aren't just about the potential client deciding if you're a good fit for them. It's also about you deciding if they're a good fit for you. So it takes that pressure off, because it's that mutually beneficial call to make sure that they are a good fit for you and you're a good fit for them. Okay, so let's get through the 3 steps. So I'm going to break this up into 3 parts. The first part is the pre-sales call. Yes, there are things you can do before the call. Then is during the call, and then after the call. So I want to go through those 3 parts and what I do at each step in terms of the structure and how it helps me to better nail my sales call, right? And there is obviously some sales calls that I didn't nail. That's part of being human. You can't be perfect at it, but it just helps, give me ease and confidence as I enter into them, rather than feeling stressed, sweaty palmed, overwhelmed, and all the things. So the first part is that pre-sales call. So there's a few things that I do during this process. The first is I actually look at their inquiry form, and I don't send out a link to a sales call unless I think they're a good fit. So I want to almost filter and weed out before I get them on a sales call, because part of this process is, it's all about decision making. Everything is set up to help you and the client decide if you're a good fit or not. So that inquiry form is part of that, helping that decision-making process. So if they're not a good fit, or if there's something they've said that's a red flag for me, I will usually send them to another referral partner, and I'll just let them know if they're not a good fit. If this sounds like something you'd like to know of how I'm able to, what my emails are to those people, then definitely comment below, and I'd be happy to share more about that process in another video. But yeah, you want to use that inquiry form as a filtering process. So from there, if they are a good fit and I'm getting them on a sales call, I then send out an email to them with the link to book a call. Now, what I do in that booking link is I ask them a few questions. So as a virtual assistant, as a blog manager, there's obviously going to be some questions I ask that aren't relevant to you, but usually I will ask, like, what makes you want a VA? Like, where are you at right now? And the second is there anything that makes you nervous about hiring a VA? So that going in, I understand what are those desires that they're wanting and what are the fears they have around it, because I want to make sure that I address those. So I go in with that knowledge, with that idea. The next thing I do, so it's like, understanding where they're at in terms of the offer, the fears, the desires. Then it's understanding the connection point and doing some research on them. So I will then go onto their website, to their social media. I'll have a look around and I'll understand where they're at right now. So when I used to do Pinterest management, I would go into their Pinterest and have a look at how I would improve it. So that going into a sales call, I had done my research. I knew this client or potential client. I hate and have been on sales calls where I could tell they hadn't done their research on me. I could tell they didn't really know that much about my business, and I'm of the belief that if they haven't done the research before the sales call, I don't know if I can trust them to be detailed enough by signing up with them, right? So I do think it's important to do research on someone and understand how your services can best fit in and best support them. So it's understanding that layer. It's also, I will search and search to find a connection point with them. So this may be from the referral partner that they, referred me through them. So that could be a connection point. It could be where they live. It could be something they really like. Like, I just want a backup of a connection point to help build that rapport on a sales call. To recap, the pre-sales call process, the first part is filtering to actually make sure that you want them on a sales call. The second part is then researching in terms of their business, where they're at, so that you can see how your services best fit into them. And maybe this looks like putting in your inquiry form some things to help you with the research. So let's say you're a B2C, let's say you're in the wedding industry. Well, they probably don't have a website. So you may want to have them, share a certain thing they really like, or, what they're looking for in their florals, like just understanding where their brain's at in terms of what they're wanting. Then is finding a connection point, whether it was through a referral partner, whether it was where they're living, where their wedding venue is, like whatever that looks like, just find one piece of connection point that you can have to help build rapport with them. Okay, the next part is on the actual sales call, right? Like, this is where it all happens. So, a brief overview of what I do in my sales calls. The first thing, obviously, they enter the waiting room, and then I take a deep breath and let them into the Zoom room. And I do it via Zoom because I like seeing people's video, just because I find it's much easier to read body language, read the room, build rapport when I can see them. But that's just my personal preference and what makes sense for my audience as well. So from there, I basically, at the start of the call, I will make a little bit of small talk. So it might be bringing that connection point up. It might be, how's your day been? It might be, wow, it looks so sunshine out there. Bring out the weather. I don't know, whatever I can do to just naturally build some form of connection point, that's what I will do. So that usually only goes for a few minutes. Then from there, I say, well, thank you so much for getting on this sales call. I am so excited to chat through, about services and just hear more about your business and where you're at. And then I say, as a reminder, this is a no pressure call. It's just for you to get an idea if we're a good fit, for you to ask any questions, and for me to share about the services. So from the very beginning, I'm setting them up to know, there's no pressure on this call. It's not this high-end thing. It's just relaxed for you to get an idea and to help support their decision-making process. So that I make sure I kind of clarify that at the start. Then from there, I say, to start with, I would love to hear about your business and how you got started. So I start with that point because I want to hear their story. I want them to talk and to start to feel comfortable, because I believe in sales calls, 80% should be listening and 20% should be me talking. It's not just me talking and talking and talking. It's actually more about me listening to where they're at and remembering things. So if they've said something that they were particularly looking for, or an experience they've had, or maybe a fear that came up, like, I'm taking mental note of those things so that I can bring them up when I'm talking about the services. So I just let them talk, and I genuinely want to listen and be interested in their journey, in their story, and in what they're looking for. So I just make it very casual, very much them talking. And then once they've kind of finished, and you'll be able to tell when it comes to a natural end, or you might ask a few follow-up questions, like just let that flow. Usually that's around 5 to 10 minutes. And then from there, I say, awesome, that sounds great. Thanks so much for sharing. Would you mind if I just shared a little bit more about the packages and what it includes? And every time they've said, yeah, sure, that would be great. So it's like those mini questions, having them actually give me an answer to something. So it's getting them used to making mini decisions along the way in the sales call. So part of that is it helps me feel better about starting to share. It's not like an abrupt, okay, now I'm going to share everything that I want to share and I've just been sitting here listening, waiting for you to finish, right? Like, it's not about that. It's about just giving that invitation for them to, be okay with you now sharing. So from there, you'll then share about your packages. So you'll take what they've said in terms of what they were nervous about, what they're looking for, etc. And I will say what the package is and what it includes. Then I will say the process of it, like how I work, what that looks like. And then from there, I'll give that, that reminder of the price point. So it's giving that kind of overview of what that looks like. From there, I then ask, do you have any questions about the package? And majority of the time they do. So I will just do kind of a little bit of back and forth Q&A, make sure everything's very clear to them. And the more sales calls you do, the clearer you'll be able to come at presenting your offer. It will just be second nature, right? And then from there, once they've finished any questions that they have, I then say to them, okay, so just to let you know as the next steps, again, no pressure, but just so that you're aware of what happens next, and then I explain what happens next. So I say, after this call, within the next 10 minutes, I'll send through a proposal, just revising everything I've mentioned in terms of what the package includes and the pricing. I'll send that through, and then from there, you're able to sign the contract, pay your invoice, and then that will book you in for the next month. And then from there, I just send through a welcome email with a different questionnaire and setting up our communication streams to get started in working together for your start date of XYZ. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then that's it. And then after that sales call is then the post-sales call phase. So what that looks like is sending out a proposal within 10 minutes of the sales call. The reason for that is you don't want someone to have to be waiting around. Like, if it's any longer than a day, usually they're going to stop thinking about it, and just, if you're not prompt there, then they've probably moved on to someone else and then they'll ghost you. So you want to be that first person to get it out, get efficient, so that yes, they can have time to think about it, but if they're ready and excited, you don't want it to be anticlimactic. You don't want that excitement to fall off. You want to ride the wave of the hype and the momentum of that sales call. So I have a video where I go through how to send a proposal within 10 minutes. So if you're not currently doing that, then definitely look at the video. Then from there, I then send that proposal with the email, just recapping everything they've said. And in that email, I say, I'm here to support your decision-making process. So if there's any follow-up questions you have that you forgot to ask on the sales call, just reply back to this email and I'm happy to talk to you about it and answer any questions you have. So that's what it looks like. And with all of this, I personally call mine a connection call rather than a sales call, but you just want to find what wording feels natural and flows for you. But hopefully that process has helped. Again, if you want to watch that video of how to create a proposal and send it within 10 minutes, then you can watch this video above. But other than that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I will see you next week with a brand new video.